I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, in a house at the intersection of 151st Street and Benwood Avenue. It was a great place to grow up. It was a wonderful house. Most of all, it was a great home. But living at an intersection is kind of a funny thing. I would even describe it as interesting. At an intersection, you have a unique point of view as you watch two roads come together. I was in the upstairs bedroom, and my bedroom looked out on the intersection. And as a budding young photographer who was just learning a little bit of the ropes about the picture-taking business, I loved being up above it all and seeing people come and go, vehicles come and go, and what happens as people mix and mingle at that intersection. It was a point of view that I enjoyed having. But it was also dangerous to live at an intersection. For you see, at the intersection where we lived, there was no stop sign. So it was not unusual for there to be accidents. You would be sleeping soundly in the middle of the night when suddenly, BAM! And you would know that some car had rammed into the side rail or had skidded to avoid an oncoming vehicle, or perhaps did not succeed in that effort. It was a little dangerous. Any given morning, you might walk out there and find the remains of an accident, broken glass, shredded metal all over your front lawn. And yes, if you were going to try to cross the street, you better be careful. But living at the intersection of 3990 of 151st Street and Benwood Avenue also meant a lot more work than some of our other neighbors. Why? Well, we were in the corner. That meant we had a longer tree lawn. That meant more raking of the leaves in the fall. Being at an intersection meant we had a longer sidewalk. And that meant more shoveling of snow in the winter. Being at the intersection meant we had a corner lot, and so that meant a larger lawn to mow in the spring and the summer. More work all the time. And yet, living at the intersection also meant that we had some opportunities. That nice long tree lawn meant additional trees for us climbing children to play in. Those long sidewalks meant a nice ride around the curve on your bicycle. That nice big corner lot yard meant lots of room to run through the sprinklers on those hot days in northeastern Ohio. Yeah, living at an intersection brings you a point of view and some danger. It brings you work and opportunities. Well, I haven't lived in that house in many years, but I still live at an intersection. These days I live at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. That's where I live. And as with the intersection where I grew up, there is a point of view and danger. There is work and opportunity. The danger that is there is real and horrible. To be black in America means that you are at a higher risk to be incarcerated, a higher risk to experience brutality at the hands of law enforcement. You are at a higher risk to die of heart disease, a higher risk to die of the complications of diabetes, a higher risk to live in poverty, a higher risk to have no health care, a higher risk to be homeless, a higher risk to die from the complications of diseases that could be prevented. All of this is there. Add to that the higher risk of being unemployed or underemployed, the higher risk of being evicted, the higher risk of watching one's family members die in front of one's very eyes. It's still dangerous to be black in America. And you want to add more to that? Be trans and black in America. You can double all of those statistics that I just threw at you. And you can include these. Higher risk to die of sexually transmitted disease. Higher risk to be ignored by the healthcare system. Higher risk to be killed, murdered in a torturous manner on the streets of your own hometown. There's danger in being at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard, even now in the 21st century. But those of us who are living there are not the only ones in danger. You're in danger too. If you're listening to me today and you are in any way, shape, or form connected with this society here in the United States, you are in danger. You are in danger by me living at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. The danger is this. It is the danger that comes from knowing, which you now know, that there are those living in the midst of injustice right in the shadow of your home. You are in danger of not acting. You are in danger of a spiritual complacency. Because you see, many of you can close your eyes. You don't have to go and think about, oh my goodness, I'm black, I gotta worry about that. Or you can say, you don't have to say, I'm trans, I gotta worry about that. You can sit back and be comfortable and cool and safe. But the danger is that it breeds a spiritual complacency that may grow and keep you from acting in the way that you know you should as one who is in any way, shape, or form connected to Jesus. That's the danger. Furthermore, as Dr. King would have reminded us, if even one of us is not free, all of us are not free. You and I are, in the biblical sense, neighbors. In the deeper biblical sense, we are kinfolk to each other, regardless of where we come from or how we identify in terms of gender. We are in danger if we do not act. Living at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard also means that there's a point of view. It is a special point of view. From where I stand, I can look at the black community from the trans community. And I can look at the trans community from the black community. And I can look at the outside world from both communities. It is a point of view that helps me see injustice in a very clear light. Sometimes that means I have to call my communities to accountability. I have to say to my black sisters and brothers, we must never be among those who oppress folk because of their gender identity, because they are transgender, because they are gender nonconforming. We must never fall into that trap because we ourselves have been condemned for who we are. And I have to sometimes say to my trans sisters, siblings, I got to say, y'all, we cannot dare abide racism inside of our community. We must stand against that because we have been discriminated against. And then I can look out upon the wider society and I can say I know firsthand how damaging and destructive racism and transmisogyny can be. We as a society must eliminate it. Come, stand near me. Listen to what my life is like. Listen to what I go through. Come and stand by me and you too will see things in a different light. Come and stand next to me. You do that by listening to me, being in conversation with me as we exchange our stories about what our daily life is like. You can come and in a way stand by me. You will never be able to stand in my shoes, but you can stand next to my shoes and see a little bit of the world from my point of view. And perhaps your eyes will be opened to injustices that you didn't see before. And perhaps your heart will be stirred to say, this must not be. This is not the way God desires God's children to be. Living at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard, there is a lot of work that takes place. And I mean a lot. I don't know if you ever heard of something called the 2.5 rule. You know, that's something that my dad taught us when we were coming up. The 2.5 rule goes like this. Being Black in America means you have to work twice as hard to get half as far. The 2.5 rule. It's unjust, but it is there. It is a reality. When I go into a job interview, when I walk into a store, when I go to buy coffee, when I step into a church, part of what I have to deal with is the fact that people may have preconceived ideas about me. I may walk into a particular church and people may say, oh, well, she's Black and she won't know what this particular church is about. They may make a conclusion about what they think I know, what my education level is, what my interests will be, how hard I will work, how I will speak, how I will dress. All of these things are there, and I got to deal with those before I even open my mouth. It's a part of the work that I have to do so that I can clear some kind of a space so that maybe an individual can see me as Carla, who is also Black and trans. There's work that happens in being trans in America. I got to worry about how healthcare is going to treat me. What's the doctor going to say when I have to go to the emergency room? What's going to happen when I have to go to a new place and I got to go to the bathroom? I got to worry about if I'm being interviewed, will I not get the job because the work culture there is uncomfortable with trans people? I have to wonder, is TSA going to be a problem as I travel on the airline? These are the kind of things that are just a part of the daily life. More than that, if something goes wrong and something crazy happens, what jail will they throw me into? All of these things are part of the work. And so I have to work constantly to overcome that, presenting myself to the world in such a way that somehow I can clear away some of these prejudices and be seen as Carla, who is Black and trans. It's work that's constantly being done. And then there's the intellectual, internal work that I have to do to overcome the biases that have been put on me. It's work all the time. You know, ask most black folk, ask most trans folk how they feel. If they're honest, we'll tell you most of the time we are tired because it's so much work. But there's work for you too. You may not be black, you may not be trans, but there's work for you because I'm living at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. The work for you is the work of understanding. The work for you is the work of coming alongside me and being an ally with me. The work for you is, what does it look like for you to use your position in order to help my freedom? Part of the work that you have to do is to say, where in society do I stand? How can I make the changes that I know are necessary so that life at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard can be full, free, and beautiful? If you're a doctor, what does that mean? If you're a nurse, what might you do? If you're in government, what does that mean for you? If you work in the school district, and if you have some of the most holy work of all, if you are raising a child, you hold the future in your hands as you shape a child so that that child might know that all God's children are deeply loved by God. All God's children are worthy of respect. All God's children have dignity. All God's children are beautiful creatures of the Almighty, endowed with the very image of God. This is the work that you and I are called to do together for a life that is lived at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. Finally, there is opportunity. All is not grim. All is not danger. All is not pain. All is not tears at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. Oh no, there is opportunity. There is opportunity for connection. There's opportunity for friendship. There is opportunity to have our hearts and minds broken open and new things poured into us. When I was first wrestling with what it means to be transgender and just starting to come out, one of the things I was afraid of was rejection. I was afraid my family would reject me. I was afraid my friends would reject me. I was afraid my church would reject me. Well, my church did reject me, and many of my friends did leave me. But my family did not. They stayed. But they changed, and we all changed. We found out that love can be in a new place and in a new way. That it can be there even when people are going through the most disorienting changes. We discovered just how strong love is. We discovered what was important to us. My mama told me when I came out to her, she said, "You were my child. God gave me to you, and I do have no intention of letting you go." And then she lived it. She took her understanding of the love of God and applied it to the idea of one of her children being trans. When she applied God's love to this situation, what she came out with was something that Jesus said a long time ago. Love one another as I have loved you. That is the opportunity that is there at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. The opportunity to see love take new shapes, to see love morph and become something deeper and greater than we thought it could be. That is the opportunity that keeps me excited. That's the opportunity that keeps me moving. When I look at the pain that comes from living at that intersection, I sometimes say, oh, what's the use? But then I see the opportunity. Then I remember, oh yes, Jesus has said, watch love do its thing. And we can change life at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. We can change it. We have the power by God's Spirit to combat the combined sins of racism and transmisogyny. We can do that. We have that opportunity now more than at any other time. Thanks to things like technology. You know, here I am. I'm preaching a sermon in my living room, and it's going to be heard all over Seattle. I love that. We have these kind of opportunities to reach one another in ways that we never could. We have the chance to form alliances across denominational lines, across faith lines, across political lines, across economic lines. We have the opportunity to transform life at the intersection of Transgender Street and Black Boulevard. We have the opportunity and we have the power. Why not do it now? If not now, when? If not us, who? Dr. King said that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. In saying that, what he meant was our work may not be completed quickly or easily, but it will bend toward justice. It will bend that way because we're going to grab a hold of that arc and not let go. And because there are stronger hands than ours that also hold that arc. Life at an intersection is interesting. I live at that intersection. Won't you visit me frequently? I'd love to tell you more about life there. The dangers, the point of view, the work, and the opportunity. Let's walk together, shall we?